Okay, there she is. So, but just a bit of introduction. I'm really excited to have Canon Michael on. He's the president and CEO of Bowles Family Farming Company. He's a sixth generation Californian, and his family, the sixth generation actually, family farmer as well. Um, he's a graduate of UC Berkeley, I believe, with a literature degree, which I want to shout that out because I did the same at Rutgers, but I didn't get into farming though. Although I did have a friend who was actually had the biggest corn farm in New Jersey, and he was all about kind of literature and culture, explaining that he wanted to get it when he can. And so it worked out great for him. So, but anyway, Cannon is an advocate for California agriculture and intelligent water policy, and that includes environmental stewardship, ethical treatment of workers, and sustainable production. These are core values for both Cannon and Bowles Farming Company. So it grows 20 plus crops, employs both conventional and organic farming practices, and then on the other side, because this is going to be kind of two sides, that's the precision agriculture aspect. But the other side is the big water part, because Cannon is the chair of the San Luis and Delta Mendota Water Authority, which is a 2 million acre feet reservoir that might be getting bigger, and involved in a number of other organizations. I mean, Water Education Foundation, the San Luis Canal Company, Henry Miller Reclamation District, Public Policy Institute of California's Water Policy Center, Environmental Defense Fund's Ecosystem Committee, the American Farmland Trust Board. There's a good video out on that. The Family Farm Alliance, Exchange Contractors PAC, and the California Cotton Growers Association. That looks like a heck of a dance card. So also serves in an advisory capacity in his free time for three other family-run farming processing companies in the Central Valley. I'm exhausted, so I'm just going to turn it over to you and be quiet.
Well, thank you, Dennis. I appreciate the introduction and the opportunity to be here. Yeah, a lot of titles with not a lot of extra pay. So I don't know, I'm a glutton for punishment, but also in my free time have a beautiful wife and three sons, and so enjoying that aspect. But as you mentioned, got a couple of just minor topics in California: agriculture and water, and I'll jump in. I know we're maybe a little bit on the time already, but I wanted to just start with maybe the big water side of the equation first, and then we'll drill down a little bit more into kind of maybe imagining what farms can do in terms of being more than just food and fiber producers. But first, I like this map of the water system in California. Sort of reminds me of a subway map a little bit, but just shows a lot of the different infrastructure that sort of makes the state really what it is. And I think as I've become more involved with the water authority, which I'll talk about here just in a second, that has a much more kind of operational component. I think farmers a lot of times feel like people don't really, or have become more disconnected from where their food comes from. I certainly think a lot of California residents don't fully understand what it takes when they open up a tap or a spigot somewhere, what it takes to deliver those molecules of water to them, and just the system that we have in place and have had in place for quite a while. Just the fact that a lot of areas of California, especially with the population bases that we have now, just annual rainfall wouldn't support those types of population centers, and also some of the infrastructure obviously being used for flood control. You wouldn't have Sacramento and some of the North Valley cities able to grow without some of that flood protection. But again, so that sort of parallel between the infrastructure that we have and just amazing way that the system can operate. I will point out that a lot of the investments were made in the major reservoirs in the northern part of the state, sort of through the, I guess, 40s through the 70s, and since then, obviously, the population has grown, pretty rapidly. So I know, reservoirs, obviously, I think people are considering now to be maybe what you would call the old technology, but certainly that old technology is what is really the backbone of the water supply. And of course, we can find potentially different ways to manage the resource, but certainly we're in a critical time now with really the last 10 plus years of below average on just more drought years than wet years for sure, and less snowpack, and so a lot of concern, especially since we haven't been maybe keeping up with some of the investments on the infrastructure side, and just that we do have a heavy reliance on that to make California the state that it is. You did mention the San Luis and Delta Mendota Water Authority, and just wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about such a unique agency that long name and acronym, but does a lot of good. 28 member agencies. We've got 19 board members. I do chair that board, and so it's interesting to kind of herd all those cats, but great different members. Representing 1.2 million acres of farmland, 2 million people, and 200,000 acres of wetlands. The authority came together as Central Valley Project users in the 1990s, early in the 90s, to take over a lot of the infrastructure from the Central Valley Project infrastructure from the Bureau of Reclamation. So you can see the list there of some of the facilities that are now operated and managed by the San Luis and Delta Mendota Water Authority. And I was interested in, becoming more active on this board, because I see great members on the urban side, like Valley Water, just a great presentation there about some of the forward thinking things that they're doing, and San Benito, also a more urban member. But then the Grasslands Water District, one of the second largest, I guess the second largest contiguous wetlands in the United States, with the federal and state refuge in there as well. And then, a whole host of different sized agricultural irrigation districts, stretching kind of up and down the San Joaquin Valley, mostly along the west side there. So really a unique group that when we are together on issues, I think can have a good and positive impact, and advocate for not just one silo, but try to come with a more holistic approach, which I think is really important in California, to not just look for an agricultural solution to a water issue, but something that kind of covers all the different components. So that urban ag and environmental connection is something that's really important. And I've really enjoyed getting to know our members and all the creative things that they're doing. Even in the valley, we've got some water recycling where the cities on the east side of the valley are sending water now over to a couple of ag districts, as well as grasslands, some tertiary treated water. A lot of our members are heavily engaged with helping their disadvantaged community members within their districts, come up with their Sigma plans, and also help them with water supply, and making sure that they're solving a lot of those issues. And then, also just on the ag side, producing a lot of food and fiber to feed a lot of people, and also doing it with California's got very progressive regulations in terms of worker pay and protection, as well as environmental protection. So if you're going to be sourcing food from people, which I think we all are going to do every day at some point, I can't think of a better place to do that than in California. So moving on, I'll talk a little bit kind of the Central Valley project water situation over the last few years. Don't want to get too wonky on charts, but the blue bars here would essentially represent hydrology, would represent storage in some of the primary reservoirs. So just think of the blue bars as wetter or drier years. You can notice 77, with a lower bar, and some of our more recent lower bars. I guess I put this chart out really to just sort of illustrate, for a long period of time, this allocation to the Central Valley project contractors was pretty consistent at 100%. You can see there, barring just the 1 year there in 77 when you had a really bad drought situation where they were cut down to 25%. But you can see starting in the 90s, quite a bit of disruption to allocations. Sometimes sort of not even well correlated with water year, amounts of hydrology that were in storage. So, seeing much more of a disrupted pattern. So I put this up here not to advocate for one thing or another, but just to kind of identify a change in the system, and just identify why there's been a fair bit of stress and unease for people who rely on exports from the facilities, both on the state and the federal side. There's been quite a bit of disruption in those deliveries, and I'm not here really to debate that. I just wanted to point out that that's sort of what's happened, and sort of the why of those disruptions is really related to sort of a layering effect of things that have happened over time. With Central Valley Project Improvement Act in '92, some endangered species work, Clean Water Act, and there's been potentially some changes that maybe improve things a little bit, but those are under some scrutiny as well. So again, I'm not wanting to start an argument about this. I just was more just wanting to put this up as just kind of giving the reality of what's been happening. And I know at the same time, there been challenges obviously for species, and so we need to all try to figure out what the pathway forward is going to be to help the situation, and how we can potentially come together to make better outcomes for the different sectors of water users. And I think that's kind of the California that I want to envision, is how we can work together more to come up with better outcomes. Because I certainly don't want to just live in a California that is only about agriculture, or only about the environment, or only about urban. It has to, that with the beauty of California is that we have all those sectors. If they can be healthy, is what makes this amazing place to live. So based on some of that disruption, there is the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act that's passed. This is a study that was done out of Berkeley, actually, looking at the 7 counties south of the Delta in the San Joaquin Valley, potential acres of crops that are going to come out of production once Sigma is fully implemented, and also based on that kind of disrupted surface water delivery pattern that I showed earlier. So, potentially 1 million acres of land that will likely come out of production in the next, potentially decade. So, for those of us who live and work in the Valley and want to continue there, 1 million acres is a pretty large block of land. And I know there's a lot of ideas of people trying to figure out, maybe minimize some of this or keep it from going to as far as this is suggesting. But I know also there's ideas for can we do some more solar energy projects, but also some repurposing or rewilding as different people are calling it. So it's clearly an indication that we've got some work to do and some things to figure out. We definitely don't want this land that would go out of production to turn into a dust bowl or noxious weeds or that kind of thing. So if we could habitat corridors or some well-planned transition is much healthier for everybody than people just kind of hanging on by their fingernails till things fall apart. So definitely some big issues going on in the valley. There's a few efforts Dennis alluded to. The Bureau is needing to do a safety of dams seismic retrofit to the San Luis reservoir. The Sisk Dam is what creates that reservoir there. So there's a safety project that's going on, and at the same time a group of member agencies of the authority, not all the agencies are participating, but a subset are, to actually at the same time they're doing the seismic work that we could raise that dam about 12 feet and come up with some additional off-stream storage there, about 135,000 acre feet of additional storage. Another subset of members is working on potential small reservoir at Del Puerto Canyon, which would create about 82,000 acre feet of off-stream storage. There's also quite a bit of work on groundwater storage projects, and farmers are continuing to put a lot of money into irrigation efficiency projects, and just doing it's a kind of all of the above approach, I think, when it comes to figuring out how to deal with some of these challenges that we're facing. So that was big water, I guess, at least from my perspective. Quickly, again, it's a big topic to cover in a short amount of time. Did want to just bring up agricultural water use, and we hear a lot about it, and obviously as a farmer, I'm concerned if people think that I'm wasting water or doing something irresponsible with it. So I guess I see it as I'm a transformer of water that's listening to market signals to tell me what to do with it and to give it back. So water is an input cost for me. Running our irrigation districts, we have a lot of people that are doing maintenance and other activities, and so we pay for our water, and the water payments go to fund those activities. So we pay quite a bit in water bills, and again, it's we're trying to only use what we need at the right times and with the right techniques to grow the right amount of crops. But going back again, I think I earlier just alluded to it. I mean, I guess no matter what your passion is, you're going to be fueled by a farm somewhere, and I certainly hope that people want to be fueled by California farms, where we are held again to much higher standards. I see the import graphs of products that are coming in from south of the border, and I know those trend lines keep increasing in terms of some fresh fruits and vegetables that are being trucked up from those areas. But I certainly know that they're not doing the same things when it comes to minimum wage and overtime pay and health insurance and a lot of the things that California farmers do, and also not doing the same climate change kind of forward thinking and those kind of things. So anyway, I don't want to be too heavy-handed about agriculture and water, but I do feel like we all have a role to play. And I guess to that end, I do like to highlight sometimes that it does take quite a bit of water at times to produce different crops. And I think each one of us every day makes choices along these lines, to decide what we're going to eat and who we're going to support with our dollars. And so, highlighting the amount of water that it takes to produce food is, something I think that we need to be mindful of, and that our decisions, do impact what's grown and, those kind of things. So I'll drill down as we get closer on time. I'll drill down just a little bit more just to our farm. Dennis did a nice job kind of introducing us. I'm the sixth generation, but we have seventh generation becoming interested, and now have 160 years really farming the same piece of land. And my focus has been really to build a resilient company that can kind of endure into the future. And we really look at stewardship as of all of our resources is something that's really, really important. We've installed a lot of drip irrigation on our farm. All the power demands for that drip is offset by solar irrigation. We've got over 1.5 megawatts of solar, really all installed to power our water conservation measures. Our farm is adjacent to the grasslands area, and we actually manage over 600 acres of wetland habitat adjacent there. So see our role in habitat performance, and native pollinator species. We grow a lot of crops that require pollination, and like watermelons and some of the other melon crops that we do, and certainly want healthy pollinators. Our people, we can't do anything without healthy people, and to that end, we have a BF Scholars program where we provide school supplies and for all of our workers' children and grandchildren, and then also scholarships for the kids as well that are going on from high school. We internally have leadership training and advancement program for our hourly folks, and our transitioning. We've transitioned 7 employees from hourly roles to supervisory salaried roles. And then we're very active in our community locally, giving time and resources to education, healthcare, and agricultural issues. Just a few pictures of some of our workforce kids who've benefited from some of the programs that we've put into place. On the farm, we're growing a lot of different crops, both like as Dennis said, organic and conventionally. Mostly annual crops, and over 90% of what we do is annual crops. We do have a small amount of permanent crops, but mostly annuals. But as I look out, I see California's faces diverse sets of issues, and what can the farm do as another solution partner more than just providing food and fiber. And so we've taken on a bunch of different climate change related projects. I'll talk more about the compost project in a minute, but we're doing some advanced weathering rock dust work that was started with Ben Howelton, who was with Davis and now is the Dean of Agriculture at Cornell. We're always working on research partnerships with Davis and others, food waste solutions with Santa Clara University and others. And then I've spent time bringing agricultural technology solutions onto the farm, looking at other water and labor savings, and then just bringing folks together, to have some of those larger picture discussions about how we can do better as groups, and diverse sets of interests can come together and work together on projects. But what we do now and have been doing for a long time, we use cover crops, compost, grazing, crop rotation, integrated pest management, where we're looking at beneficial and predatory insects and their relationships. We're always trying to reduce inputs on the farm, because it's very costly to do business here in California. So we're trying to do exactly what we need to do, and do it in a responsible way, and not use more than we have to on anything. And again, working on a lot of biodiversity work around the farm. We also are good at being certified and going through food safety audits and things like that. So I'm very transparent and open with our partners and with regulatory agencies. Quickly, we had a habitat restoration project on the farm that kind of launched into some other ideas that I'll talk about. But some partnerships here where we didn't have the knowledge ourselves to understand, what native plants needed to be in this riparian corridor. There had been some degradation over the years, just not intentionally, but people just didn't understand the management of that area. And so we're fortunate to bring on some expertise and biologist advice from a number of partners, and really did a great project to put back native trees and plants in this corridor. You can see the Center of Land-Based Learning brought kids out from our local high school in Los Banos to do some of the work, which was fantastic. Some of the bird surveys came in showing over 50 different species of birds using that habitat there. But one thing that it led to was it highlighted that a lot of times native plant material is not readily available for restoration projects, or it's very, very costly component of restoration. So we partnered with another company and started a native seed and plant business. So that is in a startup mode, but we're trying to increase amounts of seed available, and we're learning as we go, which is not easy, but really from doing those projects has kind of illustrated to me that there's a dearth of material and suppliers out there. And I'll just quickly show the kind of highlight the problem, which is there's a lot of money flowing in now for conservation and for other projects, but the native seed demand is or supply is not really there. So it takes several years for the seed production. So the seed production and the projects don't really match up very well. So we're trying to see if we can help kind of address that issue. But there's a lot of work that needs to be done on native seed and plants, because there are a lot of projects that are going to happen. And if that farmland is going to be retired, we're going to need more material for those projects. And River Partners and others are doing some great work in our area, and they need materials as well. One last thing I wanted to touch on was in relation to the state's climate strategy, SB 1383 was passed, where communities are increasing the collection of organic materials, all materials, sorting and separating all materials, but increasing organics and reducing the amount that goes into landfills. And so compost is one of those areas where I saw an opportunity where we could put a permitted compost site on the farm, which could then allow us to take some of that green waste coming out of landfills, coming from municipalities that used to go into landfills, but bring it onto the farm, turn it into compost instead of having it breaking down in the landfills and turning out a lot of methane. So we do have our compost project up and running. We're working with the Carbon Cycle Institute to understand the benefit, but just some initial study results are very positive, and so just see a good opportunity there to help with a issue that the state is facing, and do something positive, and also help our water holding capacity of our soils, and also help to use less fertilizers and things like that. So anyway, I think I've taken my time, and wanted to bring Dennis back up if there's any questions, or what else I can fill.
Yes, thank you, Ken. And this is, I obviously with the two topics gave quite a big assignment, and I'm kind of oh geez, bowled over. I was looking at, I didn't mean to. I'm just using the old
Yeah,
bowling cliche, but then I looked at the name of the farm.
there we
And
go.
but there's two questions. One is a quick one, and the other is a bit more open-ended. So the first one was asking if there was a graph about reduction of yields relating to sigma. And what was shown, I guess, was kind of a spreadsheet, and so I guess somebody was asking if there were
Yeah. I
kind of
showed, yeah, the
graphics.
spreadsheet was just acres coming out of potentially acres that are going to come out
Yeah.
of production in the different crops. On On the yield side, I don't have any, I don't have that data. I do know that, that there have been some yield, impacts as surface water deliveries have gone down and people have used wells more. I think the quality of some of those wells hasn't been as good as what they've, when they were able to blend with some surface water. So I know there's been some yield reductions with just using well water. But I think Sigma is just, there will be overall this ground, Sigma is still sort of just in its early stages. I think the plans are just being approved. But most agencies are adopting sort of a glide path over 10 years where every year less groundwater can be pumped. So I know all those are being reviewed by the Department of Water Resources right now. But so I think there will be reductions in these amounts of these crops that will be produced. So.
And actually, the other question came last year. We had Ann Hayden from EDF talk about what at the time was the land multi-benefit land repurposing project. That she kind of had started, and Assembly Member Rivas carried the bill, and it got implemented. And I see they had block grants that from the first iteration of the program. One of the block grantees was the County of Madera, and I wondered if you've been involved in that, because I see Delta Mendota mentioned, and the County Farm Bureau and others. The total grant there was $10 million. So I just kind of wondered about that, because obviously land management now includes fallowing.
Yeah, there's a couple of projects now, one in the Tulare area, and then also the one they have there in Madera. I'm not as closely affiliated with those, but I know Ann very well, and I know that they've been really pushing forward on trying to get more funding to make sure that we do. It does need to be a managed and orderly transition, and the habitat's only going to be valuable if it can be like a connected, set of, if you just do the patchwork across the valley, it's not going to be as valuable if we can do it in an intelligent way. So I think all that is underway, and hopefully, funding continues to come, and people can demonstrate these early projects. If they can demonstrate, how it can be done effectively, will be kind of really set the course forward for everybody.
I think the initial expenditure on that was 50 million to get a program running, and I guess there was about 40 million of it was these were requested amounts. I'm not sure what the actual funds were, come to think of it, but the other thing is one interesting aspect. You mentioned having a lot of solar capacity, and I've been long and interested in agrivoltaics in terms of seeing if feasibility of using the partial shade from the solar panels. I just wondered if you had any experience in that area.
Yeah, we've done a few raised solar projects. We've put them over some of our pump systems for our drip irrigation. So essentially, providing shade for the equipment. But one of the installers is working on over on the coast. He's working on a few projects where they actually can be farming underneath the panels, and so that might be another aspect. And I know there's the work that's going on with Turlock Irrigation District, where they're going to do some pilots with actually putting the panels over some of the canals to avoid some of the evaporation from that. So I think there's a number of different potential avenues for solar to be incorporated.
We didn't get the Turlock project. It was just a timing issue that. Project Nexus, I guess they call it. So we'll be keeping an eye on that as on that as well. It is interesting that with the panels, I mean, they're kind of a fixed thing, but I mean, using them in creative ways or around them is kind of an interesting thing as well. So whether it's shading canals, or if there's any benefit, well, shading equipment, as you mentioned. I mean, that's something you would probably, if you didn't have panels, you might have shade on those as well. So yeah, anyway, those, well, just like we're talking about multi-benefit land, or, multi-benefit uses of equipment. But I think this is one of the better arguments, your presentation, for our recording and getting able to view it, because there was a fire hose element to this.
Yeah,
and
sorry
it's
about
a
that.
lot to process, but I really appreciate your overviews and perspectives. There were a couple times that you were saying you didn't want to be controversial or everything, and I'm thinking, go ahead, like, come on, let's hear it.
Yeah.
Because there does need to be a better understanding, for sure, and dialogue. You'd mentioned urban oriented water districts versus agricultural, and there definitely needs to be a lot of understanding going on there. But thanks for coming on. We're going to go further